Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. We're all in different time frames here. Uh, Good morning, and we're on our second video of caregiving, parenting and caregiving. My question to you is, are you the one that holds everything and everyone together? How do you keep it all together and still maintain a happy and healthy family in you? Do you know how long it will take you to achieve the goals set for yourself and your family? How are you living? How do you see yourself? To whom much is given, much will be required. That's from Luke chapter 12, verse 48. We have heard that Bible verse line of wisdom. We know it means we are held responsible for what we have. We all have been blessed with talents, wealth, knowledge, time, and it is expected that we benefit others. Now, this parable is one that I know I've heard so many times over my lifespan. As we know, we're born and we have an expiration date, but we don't know when that date is. However, we're doing our best to achieve and be our best within the space in between our born date and our expiration date. So if you're one that is given much, you already know that much is required of you. Um, and it's not always easy, especially in a sense of being a parent. We went over first time parents moments. And when you're a first time parent, there's a lot of things that you don't know, and it's okay. It's a lot of things that you will learn over time. And there's a lot of things that you have to be open to and willing to take advice on. And like I always say, take what you need and leave the rest. Um, everyone's way and everyone's style may not be your style. Uh, with that being said, how does what you have benefit others? As a mother or father, what you have benefits your family once you begin to start your family. You're the provider. You're making sure there's shelter, there's food, and that the family's safe and has everything that they need to sustain themselves and survive. And you also are the first teacher to your children and showing them how to survive and maintain and be responsible with what they are given and what they acquire as they go on in time. Give or take, no one is an expert at everything, and the best part about this life is that every day that you live, you should learn something new every day. There's so much to learn. It would be a shame not to take advantage of that. Good steward. What are the characteristics? What are the characteristics of a good steward? A good steward can be identified through commitment to selfless service. They have no desire for power. They do not need to be in charge or exert control over others. They are responsible and accountable without any prompting or probing. One who manages the, the property or affairs of another. One that puts the well-being of family, employees, consumers, community above short-term financial gain. So you see that being a good steward has a very broad, uh, has a broad area. It's a broad area. Um, who then is the faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord will set over his household to give them their portion of food at the right times? Blessed is that steward whom his Lord will find doing so when he comes. Being a good steward, being being the one who is the take charge, responsible one, overseer of the care and well-being of others, has a lot of responsibility, and you want to be continually in service to others, because as you're serving others, you're also serving you as well. Uh, the information that you learn over time could be helpful to someone else. Things that you've gone through, things that you've overcome, could help someone that's possibly facing the same situation or a situation that's similar to yours. It's not always easy, but it can be done. The last um, video, I quoted the Serenity Prayer, and I kind of jacked it up. So I wanted to take the time to share it with you now. Um, and the Serenity Prayer is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That Serenity Prayer is one that is something to have to memorize to help you get through some of the challenging times. At this time, I like to read an excerpt from Ayala Van Zant's book, Forgiveness. And I shared one of her other readings before. If you don't know, I really enjoy Ayala Van Zant's books. Uh, Actually, the first book I read of hers, um, and I keep trying to remember the name of it. I have it, but when I find it, I'll bring it up, because that book really changed my life, and it showed me that um, you can really get over anything that you work hard enough to. Everything is not going to be perfect, but in the imperfection, there is perfection. So I'm going to read this, and it's called I Forgive My Choices. I'm affected only by my thoughts. My thoughts can frighten me, but since they are my thoughts, I have the power to change and exchange them. It is in my own best interest to train my mind to be affected only by the thoughts I do desire. I deliberately choose the thoughts I desire. I choose the feelings I experience. I forgive the conflicting ideas that harm me. And I want to say, what a difference a moment can make when we choose to heal. And being a caregiver, being the responsible person in your family, um, no one's perfect. No man is an island. It takes all of us to work together and get things done. And that's not always easy. Sometimes we hurt one another. Sometimes we do things that is not so kind, or maybe not fair to the other one. And we have to learn how to release that and let that go, because at some point we're all going to need each other. And if we cannot operate together and look out for each other, and we can't depend on each other, we have chaos. And we don't want to have chaos in the family. Granted, everyone is not going to know everything. Granted, everyone may not want to hear it from you. As I shared before, there were five types of people that you cannot help. And I'm just going to review them, because these are things that we need to know as we go along the way, um, and as we build our minds, bodies, and spirits, as we go on and to continue on overcoming challenges that's going to come, because life is filled with challenges. And some of those challenges can make you or break you. So I want to try and help you make the best you that you can be, um, with overcoming the challenges. Uh, five five types of people you cannot help are, uh, you can't help people who don't think they need it. That's one. Two, you can't help people who know they need it but don't want it. That's two. Three, you can't help people who don't want it yet. Four, you can't help people who don't want it from you. Five, you can't help people who aren't willing to do what it takes to get it done. So keep that in mind as you're growing and learning, and you're living this wonderful, amazing life that God has given us. Each day that we open our eyes, um, is a new day. Uh, Basically, we wake up and we have everything that we need to sustain ourselves to get through that day. And it's what we do in that time. So I read for you for forgiveness of my choices, because sometimes as a parent, a caregiver, there's moments in our lives where we may have some regrets, may have done some things that we were not so proud of. But those things do not make us or break us. They uh, actually are kind of like a little tool to help you navigate through life, and helps make you a better you if you can accept and become aware of your strengths and weaknesses. If you're open to accepting that, you can take advice or someone else can lead. um, Leadership is a very tricky thing. It's not something that I really sign up for, to be someone's leader. But when you look at it as a parent, you are the leader, because your spouse, your children, your parents, they're counting on you to make the best of your life, um, and be the best that you can be at whatever level you function at. Um, so, how do we create the life we envision and not given to us? We can either accept the life that we're in right now, and wherever that may be, because we're all in different places. My problems are not your problems. Your problems may not be the next person's problems. But however, we come across problems and challenges as we grow. How do we come across them? How do we get over those challenges is the main important part. And how we think, our thoughts, um, are very important. If you think that you can't do something, you're right. If you think that you can do something, you're also right. If you think it's going to be hard, you're right. If you think it's going to be easy, you're right. Um, Nothing worthwhile having is going to come easy, and it's going to require some commitment, strong will, and determination. You just cannot give up. Giving up is not an option, just as failure is not an option. You can fail, but learn from your failures. Sometimes failure is a good thing because it pushes you to the next level. So, whether you're a parent or you're parenting, you're married, single, cohabitating, co-parenting, you're a foster parent and or adoptive parent, if you're a family member parenting others' children, you're still a leader. You're still the one that's driving the ship, that's navigating, ensuring that they have the proper meals that they need, that they have the roof over their head, that the bills are paid, that the cash flow is coming in. And how well are we at keeping up with our cash flow? Was at, there was a time in my life where, yeah, I went to work, I earned a check, but was I aware of the money that I was making and how I was spending it? I can honestly say not always. Um, I do my best, just like all of you do your best to manage your money, make sure that your bills are paid. But sometimes things just don't balance out. How do we get them to balance out? It takes time, it takes practice, it takes skill. Um, And when you're already trying to learn how to master your own financial situation, your own uh, family situations, sometimes in life there's a curve that comes and there's a shift where you fall into um, the caregiver mode. And sometimes it's easy to get into it, and sometimes it's not. Caregiver. A caregiver is one who cares for and or oversees the daily activities of another. One who is able to assess and identify areas that could benefit from some type of and or sort of assistance or guidance and or peer-to-peer interaction. Having the ability to hear what's not being said, even when the words you have, though the words you hear are loud and clear at the moment spoken. Are you listening? Are you really listening to hear what they're saying as caregivers? And we'll go more into that. Are you willing to let the person you're caring for lead as you care for them and help them meet their need and goal of the day and every day after until they are able to do it on their own? Do you go to assist when you see and identify a need? It's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't. Everyone cannot obtain this skill. However, it's a skill that is practiced over and over again. And remember, no one is perfect. However, we are capable of perfecting going the extra mile, doing the extraordinary, everyday life activities that benefits the whole, you and those whose lives we touch on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. Now we know Murphy's Law is a supposed law of nature expressed in various harmonious, popular to say, the effect that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And we know in life things go wrong. But how do we overcome those? How do we get ourselves back on track? Because we all fall down. It's just how fast can you bounce back up. And if you got to crawl to get back up before you can stand up fully, it's okay too. Um, See, as life, the biblical parable of the Good Samaritan, a short story that illustrates a moral attitude or principle, providing an instructive example or lessons in some way of our lives we live and the legacy we leave behind, leaving plenty of room for growth, personal development, the opportunity to obtain knowledge, to gain insight, and become financially free from all debts acquired along the way, financially and financial and life stability, flexibility, and openness to the new adventures and new experiences that this thing called life has to offer each and every one of us. Are you or do you have the ability to self discipline, to delay gratification in the present state for the wonders of the future benefits of the time needed to accomplish the goal, personally, professionally, and new life experiences? Can we self discipline without holding on to grudges, regrets, past mistakes, self doubt, and the list could go on? However, all listed above are what could possibly be described as distractions and is the ability to make one lose focus and get off track, and or something forever life altering. Now, as the caregiver, the parent, um, there are many things that we're responsible for. But the most important thing we're responsible for is us first, because if we don't take care of us, it's going to be very hard to take care of others. So we have to stay in tune and make sure that our mind, um, is that we fill it with positive things, even though there's a lot of negative things. And if you're anything like me, um, for some reason, negative things have a way of coming and just clamming onto me. But it's a whole process to get it off. I'm getting better at it as I grow and as I learn and as I mature and I try new things. Trying new things um, is always helpful. I am one that if I see a need, I'm real quick to say, oh, let me see. I'm quick to go in and see how I can assist the situation. If I can assist the situation, um, I try to find someone else that could possibly help in the situation as well. But overall, pretty much my whole makeup is uh, under the caregiver personality. I believe in the whole kumbaya, come together, kumbaya, my Lord. Yes, all that great stuff. You know, we're wading in the water, we're going to be together, and each one teach one, leave no one behind. And it's not always easy because you have to accept people for who they are, where they are, and you have to be patient. You can't, just because you feel as though that this is something that may be good for them, they may not feel that it's good for them at that particular time or whatever. They may need a little time to grow, maybe go through some things to see that that is good, or maybe they need to hear it from somebody else other than you. Whatever the case may be, that's part of the things that we do. As a caregiver, how aware are you of your cash flow? Are you one that monitors your cash flow, know where each dollar goes for each person, what's allotted and what is going to be there to do what you need to do? Um, are you careful? Are you mindful of how you spend your cash flow? Um, because we work and we get our paycheck doesn't necessarily mean that we actually are keeping track of it. We're just, sometimes we get the check and we just pay whatever we need to pay, and before you know it, you're tapped out, and we don't want to be tapped out. We want to be able to acquire some sort of savings so that we can invest and prepare a cushion for ourselves and our families for a case of an emergency. We never know what the emergency may be. As a caregiver, are you able to pay yourself first? Because a lot of times, as caregivers, we're the last ones we think about. We think about everyone else, but are we doing what we need to do for ourselves and paying yourself first, and then moving forward and paying your bills and doing what you need to do? And paying yourself first is like it's a two component. There's a savings part and then there's an investing part. So that means that if you are paying yourself first, you have an idea. You already have an idea of what it is that you would like to invest in, or where would you like to. What are you saving for? So and that takes time too. Improving your stability, starting new habits and practice them every day. Change is not easy, but change can happen. It happens based off of what we do every day. But even as individuals and being a parent or caregiver, are we in tune? Are we paying attention to those around us that may be changing also? They they may still be with it mentally, and able to communicate their needs and wants to you, um, But sometimes there's subtle changes, little things that you don't see. And one thing I've learned as a caregiver, when you're caring for someone, especially if they are beginning to see that they are becoming different, or they're having small, subtle little changes, things they didn't used to do may start, they may start doing it now. It could be forgetfulness. It could be a little tremor when they pick items up or when they try to feed themselves. It could be as simple as uh, periods of incontinence, not being able to make it to the restroom in enough time. So you have to stay in tune with your loved ones and those that you care for. Yes, we are here to help and we are here to assist, but overall, the greatest way I feel to assist someone is to let them navigate and let them tell you what they need. And you can kind of filter in and maneuver and make little suggestions that may be helpful, where it's not where you're forcing them to do this because that's, this is what's going on. Because over time, we all change. We don't stay the same. From the time we're born, we're growing. We're growing every day. A child is through gestation, when a child is conceived, a child is growing on the inside of the womb of the woman. When that child is born, that child grows from each day that that child is living. They get to learn how to use their hands. They get to learn how to speak. They learn eye and hand coordination. They learn to put things in their mouth. They want to explore the world. And we are the same way. And it doesn't change because you grow older. Um, I think as we get older, it might be a little bit more intense because we're so set in our ways that, when a change comes, we it can be discouraging. It could make us sad. It could it could make us feel as though that our life has no purpose. But as a caregiver, as a parent, our job is to encourage our children, our loved ones, and those that we care for. Um, encourage them. Yeah, things are changing, but we're going to make it through this change together. You're not alone. We're all here together, and we got you. Sometimes that makes all the difference. But what do you do if you have a difficult caregiver? I mean, someone difficult to care for, um, that may not necessarily want your help. I would strongly suggest you give your advice, or try to set them up with whatever you can. And if they choose not to do it, that's their choice. But at least you tried. Um, and sometimes it's best to just leave them alone until they can digest. Because sometimes we have to have a moment alone to digest and see exactly where we are in the process. Because it can be challenging to accept the fact that we are unable to do some things that we once were able to do. And then to have someone there all the time where we had a sense of independence uh, can be a little nerve wracking for the person as well. Um, but there's ways to get around it, there's ways to get through it. And you will, and you will. And you want to maintain and stay strong in what you're doing. So, and with that being said, it's just like a school of life. We're all in a school of life. And life teaches us wonderful, amazing lessons. Some good, some life altering lessons, some where we'll never be the same again. When you do, as you're growing and you're moving forward, sometimes you can't go back. You have no other choice but to continue to move forward. So how do you do that? You have to be strong within yourself. And for me, it's a strong faith base. And like I said, I always share the scriptures. So I encourage you to go back and read those scriptures for yourself to have a greater understanding. I also encourage you to seek those that are more mature, more well versed, and more knowledgeable on the scriptures and how to interpret them and what they mean. So, I have a question. What is the hardest part about going to school? And what is the best part of going to school? And I'd like you to leave the comments down below. The hardest part for going to school for me was basically just um, staying focused, being um, diligent, and uh, learning what I needed to learn. And I found that over time that applying yourself to what you're learning, whether it's easy or challenging, and the more challenging it is, the more time it probably will take to get it done. But I found over time that the things that were most challenging did require more time, but I was able to achieve them. What was the best part of school? I would say meeting some cool lifelong friends, people in my life over time, and people as we grow, you know, as we grow, we make friends in school, but as we grow, we begin to spread out. We begin to live our own lives, and everyone, I'm happy and proud to say that everyone is doing well. Do we all conversate all the time? No, but we do try to check in on each other from time to time, and that's a good thing. So, if I had to say the best part, that would have been the best part, meeting my teachers and my friends and the people, my peers that I went to school with. And it was very interesting to see as my children grew that they had some of the same teachers. So that was even cooler um, experience to go through. And we're on caregiving and getting ourselves together. What does it take to be a caregiver? And are we listening to our caregiver? Are we able to allow those that we are caring for to lead? And believe it or not, even little people, I like to call them little people, because they are. They're babies, they're young children, they're toddlers, they're adolescents, but they're little people. They're people. They're born people. They are born with a mind. They are born with feelings. They're born with their own thoughts. And even little people like to have some say over what's going on in their life. And if you can incorporate that in your parenting, it is great. No one wants to live underneath an iron thumb. You want your children to have a sense of independence. You want them to have the free will to make their own decisions, the best decisions for them. As parents, we do have their best interests at hand. Most times we have very high expectations of our children, and we expect them to excel. But what do we do when they don't? Are we supportive? Are we listening to their needs? Are we listening to where they may fall short, or where they're not saying they need help? Um, because our young people, they're invincible. They can overcome any challenge. They are so brilliant, and they're capable of so much. And many of them are doing the darn thing and having their own families, and they're dynamic at raising their families. Probably a little bit more dynamic than some of their parents that gave birth to them and raised them. And I think that's overall the greatest choice of parenting, is that we not only want to raise our children, we want our children to strive and be better than we were. Um, we want to give them the best support that we can, because we only have them for a small time. And I strongly always advocate this, that children learn from gestation in the womb up to 5 years. Everything in their life that they need to know or don't need to know, you can kind of give it to them in the first 5 years. In the first 5 years, that's your molding time. That's their time when they are dependent upon you the most. Not to say that it doesn't change after five, they do, but after five, now they're exercising their own thoughts, their own feelings, they're exercising their own explorations and things. And how are we open to that? Are we allowing them to explore? Are we giving them a safe environment to explore and do what they want to do? Or is it creative? Are we encouraging them to think outside the box, to take that extraordinary step? Because we're just ordinary people. We do everyday things, but then there's some of us that take that extra step. Doesn't make us special, doesn't make us any more better than anyone else. However, it just shows that we have the stamina to take extra miles. We may do a little more than required to get some things done along the way. And it's important as a parent to foster that. And even as a caregiver, when you see someone that you're caring for, they have good and bad days. On a good day, do you encourage them? Do you praise them? Do you tell them it's okay? If should an accident should an accident or so happen, or something mishap, um, are you able to help them maneuver through that, not make them feel shamed for the things that they are unable to do that they once were able to do? Um, takes a lot of practice. Takes a lot of practice. Being able to walk away sometimes when it's difficult, to take a breath and just breathe. And one thing for sure, as a caregiver, one thing I've learned over my process and my time is that as a caregiver, you can cross all your T's, dot all your I's, make sure everything is in place, and that Murphy's Law will pop up. Sometimes things happen. No matter how well of a plan we laid out, no matter how well we strategically placed everything and uh, put things in place, things will happen. And you have to forgive yourself for the things where you may feel as though that maybe you could have did more, or maybe you could have done something a little different. When in reality, in that process of forgiving yourself, of caring for someone, you have to accept the fact that you've done all that you can do. When you've done all that you can do and things still go awry, just stand. Just stand in the peace of knowing that you did your very best and your best was good enough. Never hold on to regrets, never hold on to grudges. Life is short. And like I said, from the moment we're born to our expiration date, there's this space in between that we want to fill up, and we can't fill that space up with joy, love, abundance, grace, and favor if we're holding on to past grudges, resentments, old feelings. Uh, at some point, we have to move on because we're our own rescue. Yes, people can come in our lives and they can, you know, uh, be good or bad. And sometimes when we're caregivers, depending upon the relationship you have with the person, um, you might feel you might feel like it's not your place to do so. Someone else needs to come and do this. But in all actuality, I'm a firm believer that nothing of God is complicated. And if you are in a position of caregiving, God has chosen you to be in that position, and there's nothing you can really do about it, but just do the best that you can and be the best that you can, and provide the best for that person that you're caring for, whether it be your child, your adult parent, your spouse, a friend, um, a neighbor. Because even in community, sometimes neighbors, we look out for each other. We have families, and families grow older. The children move out, but the parent stays in the home. So the children go live their lives. So the community itself kind of looks out for each other, neighbors. We check on each other. We make sure that everyone has what they need. If they need anything, if they need any assistance, we do that. And that's all a part of what life is all about. Each one teach one. Let's lift each other up and make a better day. And it all starts as a parent. These are tools that were taught in my home, if it was taught in your home, so you clearly understand. And if it wasn't taught in your home, and you're interested in learning how to overcome the challenges, and you want to be that caregiver, there's all kind of ways to learn how to do it. There's different groups that you can join. There's different people that you can talk to, if you find yourself in that situation. And believe me, as a caregiver, there's going to be plenty moments where you will need to take some times out and, take a breath to replenish and refresh you, um, because it's important in anything that you do, whether you're a parent, caregiver, you're trying to start something new in your life, you want to um, start a new career path, go back to school, whatever it may be. You're going to be doing a lot of work. It's going to be a lot required of you. And you're going to have that strong will and determination, but you have to have that common sense that says that, okay, I need some time to replenish and refresh myself. And as a caregiver, sometimes that's difficult for me, stepping back and replenishing. But then there's times where I have no choice, because I have done all that I can do to the point where I'm totally exhausted, and then I find myself just sleeping a day away, and to rejuvenate. And then when I find myself doing that, I just allow it to happen, because there's nothing wrong with stopping and taking a break and rejuvenating and resting. Resting does not mean you're giving up. Resting does not mean that you stop or you quit. Resting means that you took a moment to replenish your brain, your body, your heart, physically, and take care of you, because you're the key to all of this. If you're the parent, if you are the caregiver of someone, or if you're just a community person, and you may be a community leader. You're looking after all the youth in the community. You're looking after the elderly in the community. You're looking after whomever and whatever is in your community, and you're just doing your best to make it better. Even you too, even more so, need to take care of yourself, because uh, when you're blessed to have things, and God gives you talents and skills that help and benefit others, it's very important that you care for yourself, so that you will be able to continue to care and provide for others. And providing for others isn't always financial. It isn't always material things. Sometimes caring for someone could just simply be keeping them company, sitting with them and talking with them for a couple hours, coming over and sharing a meal, or helping them do some chores around the house, just kicking it, not really doing much, but just being there if they wanted someone to talk to, or maybe they had something on their mind. So a lot of times, just being there can be even greater than actually being there and doing something. Um, so, with that being said, as a caregiver, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it all together. I'm launching and relaunching all the time, and caregiving is a sensitive spot for me, because I care for my parents and my grandparents, and even in caring for my parents, sometimes things didn't always go as well as I would have expected. A scenario I can give you. Okay, for my father, um, he had to have his leg amputated, and that was a process in itself, dealing with the whole idea that he's about to lose a portion of his leg. He's going to have to function differently, and he was a very prideful man. He was very self-sufficient and independent. He didn't depend on no one. That wasn't his thing. So to be there for him and to assist him, oftentimes, sometimes it was difficult because he would be very angry. He didn't want me there. Not so much that he didn't want me there. He did want me there, but he didn't want me there in certain capacities. One, he was a male. Two, I was a female. So therefore, there were some gender issues and concerns that he did not want me to be privy to, or did he care to have that part of his life shared with me. However, I was blessed to have a son that was able to step in and take over those male parts that I couldn't. But in the interim, we were advocating for his prosthetic, which he had complained about that was not fitting properly. The facility was saying that he didn't put it on enough, for his stump to go into it. My dad saying, yes, I put it on, but when I put it on, it's not fitting right or whatever. It was a whole mix up. And because it was so many different teams involved in his care, we had the Veterans Administration, we had the nurse, we had the case manager and the nursing home staff working with him and his doctor. And we all could not seem to agree. However, at some point, my father was ready to come home, and we made it so that he could come home. And when he came home, the in the process of getting him ready to come home, we set up different appointments for him to see another prosthetic professional company. And when we made that appointment and we took him to the professional company, uh, the 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 gentleman that was going to be preparing my father's new prosthetic to give him more comfort and to help him stand up and move, be able to maneuver and move around and not be in his wheelchair. Um, it brought tears to my eyes because the doctor came out and the first thing he said was he apologized to me. He said, I apologize to you for them because they did not provide your father the proper prosthetic that he needed. The prosthetic was too small for my father. So my father's complaints were correct. So that's why I harp a lot on listening to the person that you're caring for, because what sometimes as caregivers, we are so in the mode that we got to get them to do this and we got to do that, and we're following the doctor's instructions and we're following this and that and the other. But we fail to realize that that person that we're treating is a person, and they have a right to speak how they feel. And long story short, unfortunately, my father passed away before he could experience his new prosthetic. But those are some things that where you could say as a caregiver, you're doing all your best that you can. You're working with these uh, healthcare providers and the different agencies that are in place to help your loved one, and they're not listening. Why they're not listening, I don't know. Why they're not taking the time to really see what the patient needs or the calls for, I don't know. There's been a shift in the caregiving uh, field arena, the whole managed healthcare thing. There's a whole switch, and the switch has been there for quite some time, and it's very disturbing. So I hope that as we move forward as caregivers and healthcare providers, we can get a little better, because We're so busy looking at the mighty dollar that we're forgetting the real purpose of how you're making that mighty dollar. And that mighty dollar is because off of the people that you're responsible to care for. And you want to give them the best opportunities and the best chances that you can give them. The other scenario is caring for my mother who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And we kept her home as long as we could until it became too much. It was just really too much to bear. The care became more of an intense 24/7 level. And even in doing so, we provided round the clock care through the family, being there in early morning to make sure her day started off right, at least that she could see us. Um, um, Going and having someone cover the afternoon shift to help out, as many nursing homes we know are often short staffed, or they have more work to do than they have people to actually expedite to take care of the patients. And in the state of New Jersey, I believe the ratio is like maybe 5 to 1, and that's a lot for one person. And you have, depending upon whatever their needs are. So maybe that's something the state of New Jersey could look at also. Maybe giving healthcare providers less patients to care for, and hiring more healthcare workers so that there's more people in the workforce that can give them more of that one-on-one time with residents. It does make a difference. Long story short, with all the round the clock things, uh, I would one evening I had left my mother, um, and I tell you, less than 15 minutes later, I was receiving a phone call saying that she fell and she injured herself pretty bad. We still to this day don't know how she injured herself, nor does the staff at the facility. Could they give a clear explanation as to how she was harmed there? However, the fall created other things, and she just started to decline from there. And that's why I read the forgiveness poem, the forgiveness entry, because um, I carried a lot of guilt. Um, I tried to do as much as I could do for her, being there, making sure she has her personal needs. There was nothing that she lacked overall, but the process of the disease took place in the fall, made it progress even faster. So we lost my mom first before losing my dad. We lost my mom first, and we lost my dad the following year. But with that being said, I'm just saying, as a caregiver, you will feel different emotions. You're gonna have all these emotions. It doesn't mean that you're exempt from them. It's how you deal with them, how you navigate with them, how do you process them, and still not feel like you failed. It took me a long time to realize that I've done the best that I could do, and that God just basically called her home. But um, with that process, I understand some of the challenges you can go through being a caregiver of your parents, or some of the challenges you go through with your children. The whole peer phase, and the what is it called? Because children have their own image and identity, whether you know it or not. Who they are in school, who they become as they're growing. That's pretty much who they are, and you have to listen to them too, because sometimes they're saying some things that are right, especially when they're navigating through school. Every educator isn't always a fair educator. Some educators are dictators. They don't want you to ask questions. They don't want you to point out that something is wrong. Um, or do they really listen and pay attention? Are they in tune to the students that's in their classroom? And I commend teachers. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that some of them could benefit from falling back and taking some time and considering a child, because each person is different. There's no cookie cutter. We can't take a shaper and make the mold and cut out the same person over and over and over again. Each person is going to be unique, individual in their own way, and that's even our children are unique and individual in their own way. They learn differently. They may be experiencing something differently. Are you taking the time to find out and identify that? And I know it's hard for teachers. I know it's very hard. You got your curriculum that your job is enforcing you to follow. Then you got these children that you are required to teach this curriculum, or the test taking skills, whatever it is that you're doing, because the teacher's job is very challenging. I know because I was part of the PTA and I sat in many classrooms with my children, because I sat in the classroom because I needed to know what they were feeling like. I was hearing their conversations, but I needed to feel what was the environment, what was the energy within the schoolhouse, and overall, it was some navigating to get through, but we got through it. But there's some that take the time to listen and reach out and talk to the parents, and there's some that don't, and rightfully so, because uh, some parents are easy to talk to, and some parents, uh, I hate to say it, but some of us still have a lot of maturing and growing up to do, because if you're doing what you need to do with your children at home, you pretty much know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I know we all work and have jobs and we got things that we need to do, but nothing's more important than paying attention to our children and knowing what's going on with them, what's going on in their environment. How are they learning? Is it something that's difficult? I know in the beginning when my children started school, they used to send home books of the lessons that they taught. So if the child's homework, if the child had difficulty with their homework, the as a parent, I could go to their workbook and I could go over the chapter or read what they had to do to help them try to better understand the assignment that they had. And then shortly after, there was a shift and folks stopped coming home, and then there was worksheets, ditto sheets. So how can a parent help their child with ditto sheets, with a new system that they're not privy to, or not made aware of? Uh, it can be, it's all various types of challenges that you come across, but there's a way of building that parent teacher relationship, to make it effective for your child, because it's going to require you working together. It's going to require you communicating from time to time, and although you may not always agree, um, there is a way to solve and work the problems out. However, you can't go up there cursing them out and thinking that your child is without fault. And nobody's perfect. Not the teacher, not the child, not you. So, given that we're not perfect, that means that we once we find out what the problem is, if it's something we're aware of or not aware of, or we're just being made aware of it at that time, you find out what steps you need to take to navigate through and help them get through those challenges to help them achieve the goals that they need to get. And it's sometimes can be a battle, but it doesn't have to be one where we're dehumanizing each other or degrading each other and using profanity on one another or becoming physical. Because what are we teaching our children then? We're teaching them that we can't conduct and control ourselves. We have no self discipline. And how can we teach them self discipline if we don't have it ourselves? How can we tell them to go and be the best person that they can be when we can't even be the best person that we can be? So um, you move, however what's best for you, and you navigate. I'm just offering suggestions. I'm just sharing bits and pieces of how I navigated through and what worked for me. What worked for me may not work for you, but it's worthwhile giving it a try. So I have this to read to you. I'm going to read it, and it has, God is not going to build anything you are not willing to build yourself. God gave each of us a soul and spirit. Our, our soul receives senses from our spirit. That means the things we see, touch, taste, and feel feed our soul. Our soul is the center for our minds. will, and emotions. So that means whatever we see and hear every day will affect the sum of total choices we make daily, which brings forth and manifests in our lives every day that we put in. If the soul receives from our spirit, then we must make sure that whatever we see and hear is providing the soul all it needs in order to succeed and thrive. God gives each and every one of us the power of will, the will to believe and receive, or to not believe and not receive, even the will to refuse God Himself. There is nothing more powerful than the human will. God does not control the human will. The human will is human self control. God gives us will, and the gift of will can be dangerous and precious based on how we choose to use and apply it in our life. We need to be more mindful of what we surround ourselves with and what we allow ourselves to see and hear on a daily basis, as it will affect how we interact, connect, and be ourselves and others, good, bad, and or good, bad, and or indifferent. How we choose to entertain our minds is very important as we watch on as we watch on TV, listen to the radio, down to our personal choice of music. It all came. It all can. Wait a minute. It all can be programmed and downloaded into our conscious mind, and we must be aware of what comes from the conscious to the subconscious mind, as it will stick to our motherboard of the mind and it takes longer to reprogram. And a change or change to a new way of subconscious thinking, which affects our actions and behaviors as we move through life. So, how does our mind know what's good or bad? Remember, the soul receives from the senses of the spirit. And just because something looks good, tastes good, and feels good to the spirit doesn't mean it's good for the soul. So, how do we handle what we look and taste and feel good to our spirit, but it's dangerous to our soul? How do we keep the mind pure and free from toxic things that can eventually bring harm? What affects the mind, will, and emotions will determine our success in life. Success is making it to its purpose. And this is a unique and this is as unique as every human being on this earth. So to say success is measured by what you have done compared to what you should be done, it's okay if you have no idea of what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to be still. Don't be afraid to start doing something new. While in the process, learn to become okay in your still moments so you can hear what is best for you in your journey. If you are reflecting, reviewing your life at this time, which many of us do, if you are serious and committed to making change happen in your mind, will, and emotions as you go through this life, so the soul and spirit man, woman, can perform according to God's will and not your own. Don't let the ego of what to be further along. Oh, sorry. Don't let the ego be wanting, don't let, okay. Don't let the ego of wanting to be further along than you are get in your way of doing the work that you need to do. Take some pleasure in providing and take some pleasure and, and pride in working hard and using abstracts as opportunities to build stamina and develop craft. Are you not sure exactly where to start? Here are some suggestions. Have the faith and believe that you can and will manifest a change in your life. Start identifying and implementing the things you will need you desire to reach your desired outcome of your life change. This can be as big or as little as starting of changing habits that no longer serve you, like being more aware as to how you entertain your mind through TV, movies, music, and daily activity just to start. If you are not really a reader, there are books with audios to listen and read and start taking in on personal growth, increasing your finance and increasing your finances, improving your oh sorry, okay. Let's start at it again. Couldn't read my own writing. Oh well. Sometimes that happens. Um, if you're not really a reader, there are books with audio to listen and read and start taking in. On personal growth, increasing your finances, improving your relationship, heal thyself, and the list goes on and on. Strengthen your faith by joining like-minded people. Stay in stay in tune and active. Motivational motivational sources for some is church or spiritual training, and take the time to sit still to meditate or just sit quiet to hear from a power of strength that will drive you forward. Keep the faith, love, be generous, and serve others, as this too will in turn serve you as well. Remember, acts without works is dead. And that's James, 2nd James, verse, okay, that's James, the verse James chapter 2, verses 14 through 26, for those that would like to go on and read further. Uh, Figure out what is it that you would like to receive back in return on your new life change, and what will it take for you to reach it. Pace yourself, as bringing forth change in your life is a marathon. It's not a race. So that means pace yourself, because this is going to be going on for quite some time. Remember, we're born and we have an expiration date. We don't know the expiration date, so we got to fill in all this time in between. And what are we doing to fill in that time in between? The saying is, as a man or woman may thinketh, so is his or her heart. As the mind is the center of thought and holds the key to life. So with that, I would like to read you a little excerpt. This is John Maxwell's book. I don't know if you guys can see that. If you haven't picked it up, might want to pick it up. Is Laws of Leadership. Uh, I was stumbling across and going through a couple of my books that I'm reading, and I came across this and it stood out to me, and I thought that I would use it for this particular parent caregiving segment. It is the excerpt that I'm going to read is titled "Leadership is like investing; it compounds." So I chose that topic because parenting and caregiving is the same thing. Like, so leadership, parenting, caregiving, being a world leader, being a teacher, just being a community leader, or just being you, the ordinary, everyday lady on in your neighborhood, just a caring person, all do apply. So leadership is like investing in compounds. Becoming a leader is a lot like investing successfully in the stock market. If your hope is to make a fortune in a day, you're not going to be successful. There are no successful day traders. In leadership development, what matters most is what you do day by day over the long haul. So, Keisha, yeah, okay, hold it. All right, bye. Okay, my apologies. I'm a busy lady, so that's why I have all these things going on. At one point, some point, this is going to get settled, but um, as they say, the show must go on. So the show with the show going on. Okay, there's no successful day traders in leadership development. What matters most is what you do day by day over the long haul. My friend tag short mount main. Okay, sorry. Matters most is what you do day by day over the long haul. My friend tag short maintains. The secret of our success is found in our daily agenda. If you continually invest in your leadership development, letting your assets compound, the inevitable result in growth over time. What can you see when you look at a person's daily agenda? Priorities, passion, abilities, relationships, attitude, personal discipline, vision, and influence. See what a person is doing every day after day, and you'll know who that person is and what he or she is becoming. When I teach leadership at conferences, people inevitably ask me if leaders are born. I always answer yes, of course they are. I've yet to meet an unborn leader. How else would you expect them to come into the world? We all laughed, and then I answered the real question whether leadership is something a person either is born with and possesses, or is it not born with and doesn't? Although it's true that some people are born with greater natural gifts than others, the ability to lead is really a collection of skills, nearly all of which can be learned and improved. But that process doesn't happen overnight. Leadership is complicated. It has many facets: respect, experience, emotion, emotional strength, people skills, discipline, vision, momentum, and timing. The list goes on. As you see, many factors that come into play in leadership are intangible. That's why leaders require so much seasoning to be effective. That's why I felt the only that's why I felt that only after reaching that's why I felt that only after reaching age 50 was I truly beginning to understand that many aspects of leadership with clarity. Becoming a leader is a lot like investing successfully in the stock market. If your hope is to make a fortune in a day, you're not going to be successful. And I share that because I thought it was quite appropriate to go along with the whole parenting, caregiving thing because these are responsibilities and obligations that it's an investment. You give of your time, your energy, your support, your resources to help others achieve what they need to achieve. If you're in it for a quick fix or something, you're looking for it to happen fast, I strongly suggest not to do that. I strongly suggest you take the time, learn as much as you can learn, be patient with yourself and those that you're responsible to care for. Listen to them, listen to their needs, listen to what they're saying and what they're not saying. Take the time that it's going to take to get to where everyone is trying to get to. We're all on different paths. We all have different ideas of what our lives should be and could be. But are we really taking the steps to get there? I invite you to come back and join us for next week's conversation. So this was our second video on caregiving. If anything that I said resonated with you or um, you can relate to or identify with, I like to hear from you. Please leave a comment in the bottom. Um, I enjoy this time. And as I heal myself and move forward and I work towards the dreams and desires that I have, I hope that you all will join me and come along and partake in some of all of this wonderful opportunity and explore some of your options. I like options. Do you like options? I like options. This life offers many options. However, it requires a lot from us. The saying is God created the heavens and the earth, and we're here to take care of it and cultivate it and make it the best world that we can. So I'm trying to do my part in making the best world that this can be. Whatever way I can be utilized, um, I try to do that the best of my ability. Do I know everything that I'm doing? Nope, not at all. Some things I just shot off the hip and some things I just was thrown into. But however, through daily practice, through learning, through never giving up, strong will, determination, I'm making it. Do I crash and burn? Yeah, sometimes. But I'm getting better at learning not to. And I hope that you will too. Because as parents and caregivers, sometimes our jobs can be very challenging to do and meet all the needs that needs to be met by ourselves and others. But one thing I could tell you is that, yeah, it's going to be long. It's going to be some long, enduring nights. It may be some hair pulling moments. But overall, it's all worth it. Because at the end of the day, if you can help someone else to navigate through life and find out what is their dreams, their desires, what do they wish to go for, what is going to make them satisfied, whether it's monetary or not, because I'm finding that the monetary gift is nice, but it's not as fulfilling as that one-on-one giving interaction from one person to another. I'm finding that it takes us, people, reaching people, touching people. God created us for that reason. So whatever it is that you decide to do today or any day, if you're blessed to wake up, make the best of the 24 hours that you have. If you don't accomplish everything on your to-do list, that's okay. You accomplish what you can within that 24 hours because tomorrow's another day. Be blessed. I thank you for joining me. I thank you for your time. And we'll be talking soon. I love you. I believe in you. And I know you can do this. We can get through this together. Um, and if you are a caregiver and you're going through challenges and you like someone to talk to, just reach out to me. I don't know, like I said, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. and Instagram. So you can follow me at Tia Rogers, Dirty Red, Tammy's Market, Real Family Dynamics. I'm out there. So I invite you, if you're interested in learning more, or if you need someone to help you to, if you need someone to talk to, helping you through the navigation, if you are a caregiver, if you are a parent and you're finding yourself struggling, hit me up. I would love to talk with you. I would love to help you navigate and let you know you're not the first, you're not the last, and you too will make it through. You will get through this. We're going to get through it together. We're going to build our lives that we choose to create, not the life, not the life that is given to us. Because this life was given to us when we wake up every morning, but it's the choices and decisions and the work that we do on a daily basis. And remember, if God has given you much, make sure that you are being a good steward and looking out for others. Because when much is given to you, much is going to be required. So don't give up. It's going to get hard. It's all right. It's all right to take a break and come back, replenished, refreshed. My name is Tia Rogers. Thank you for joining me. Have a blessed day.